A cliché could be defined as a general image or opinion that we have of something. We don't really question them because it's easier to go by them. Clichés structure our perception of the world and of the people around us. But how to know if the clichés are really relevant? Welcome back to Is It True That, the podcast that will tell you if the clichés are true. The goal here is to have an open conversation with natives about the clichés that people have about their country. I'm your host Nawel, and welcome to the fifth and unfortunately final episode of the show. For this last time together, we'll dig into the clichés we have about India, thanks to the help of Anany. Enjoy! Cliché number one. Is it true that Indian people worship cows?
That's a very interesting question. And yes, there is some basis to that because in Indian religion, the cow can be seen as a god or a goddess. And because of that, a lot of people do worship cows. This has led to some consequences as a result. And one of them is that if you've been to India, you'll know this, but there are cows that roam openly on the streets and on roads, and sometimes they can interrupt traffic and cause massive jams. And you are not allowed to, you're allowed to kind of move them along, but it's seen as a bit taboo.
A
So,
taboo?
mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. I didn't think it would be like a taboo.
It's not really a taboo. It's sort of just looked down on. You just let them sort of do their thing and get out the way, and you kind of move around the cow. And because yeah, I know
Okay.
there's a lot of little mopeds and bikes in India that people use, and it's very easy to maneuver around them. But they exist, and Indians as a whole do worship them.
But do you know like the backstory of the worshipping of cows?
I
Why,
think
why the cow?
I think the way it works is the cow is supposed to be a religious reincarnation of a god that we have, one of our big three gods called Shiva. Because of this, the cow is seen as a sort of religious deity, like a religious icon. And in India, in Hinduism, there's a lot of icon worship as a whole, where people worship statues and figures of gods. And if the cow is the living reincarnation of a god, people believe that it makes sense to worship it. And an interesting point is that manure, which is cow shit, yeah, it's also seen as very holy in India. And I know it's very funny. It's used in religious ceremonies sometimes. Yeah, and it's all because the cow is seen as a religious figure. So yes, there's actually a lot of truth to that. Yeah,
Yeah. But so when you moved to France, wasn't it weird to see how other people would treat cows? Because in France, it's not the same level of
worship,
respect.
absolutely not. Yes, when I moved to France first, I was a vegetarian actually.
Mm.
And because my parents were vegetarians, so we didn't eat meat. And eating beef is something I generally, as a kid, never thought I'd do because it was
Oh.
seen as religious. Now I eat pretty much everything.
Sure.
It was a big culture shock for sure.
Do you remember the first time that you tasted it?
I tasted beef first accidentally because our neighbor gave us like a little dish. I don't remember what it was, but it was something with beef in it. And my parents gave it to me because they thought I'd like it, and I could immediately tell something was off. So I was like, I don't want it, and then I figured out there was beef in it. My parents still tried to get me to eat it because they knew that meat is
Ah, they
good.
knew it. They knew that there was beef in the.
Yeah, they still believe that it was important to me as a growing adult. They don't eat meat because of their values, their religious values. I don't believe in the same religious values they do, so I eat meat. But it was definitely a culture shock. But moving here as a kid helped because I quickly understood that okay, this is how things work now, and yeah, I just started living around it.
So yeah, how do you feel about cows?
I feel fantastically about cows. I think cows are very cute. Cows are fantastic animals, I think.
Yeah.
However, I do not worship them.
Oh, also, when I was doing my research, I've heard that Hindus are really tolerant with other religions. What would you say about that?
The religion as a whole is very tolerant, yes. In India, the pragmatic problem itself occurs because, again, 1.2 billion Indians, 900 million of whom are Hindu, 300 million are Muslim. And there's a lot of political tension because of that, because the two main political parties basically Basically one represents the Hindus and one represents the Muslims. But with Muslims being so underrepresented in the population, the Hindus always win, and hence why the Muslims are always oppressed. But that's not because of the religion itself, it's because of the political dynamic that comes with it. So, absolutely, the religion as a whole is very tolerant. And one of our core tenets is that you live and let live, basically. You let people do whatever they want, let them believe in whatever they want. You don't try and change anyone. You try and educate them, sure, but you don't try and change them for their beliefs. So, yeah, without the whole political dynamic, Indians, Hindus are very tolerant. That's very true, yeah. But again, with the political dynamic, it's a bit more complicated.
Yeah, it's always more complex when you have that.
Cliché number 2. Is it true that Indian people know all about science and informatics?
I'm gonna explain that real quick. It's just that that's a personal observation, but each time that I have to look for like specific advice about a software or a formula in math or this kind of stuff, there's always on YouTube a tutorial made by an Indian guy that is gonna explain everything really detailed and really clearly. So yeah, I was wondering, is it really representative of the Indian population, or is it just that it's what we see on YouTube?
It's a very interesting question. To understand this, I think it makes sense to start with the Indian education system. The way it essentially works is, I'm speaking in very large majorities here, but most normal people, when they're a kid, if you don't have resources to do much else, you're either forced to be a doctor or an engineer, which is a very big cliche, but it's very true and it's very sad. And because of that, there's a large influx of people who are very well educated in maths, especially above everything else. Because of that, yes, I do think the average Indian is probably better at maths than your average other nationality. However, I think a big reason of that is because of our education system and the emphasis it places on being good at the quantitative subjects like maths, physics, and chemistry. In terms of informatics, it's more interesting because there's an entire shadow industry in India of informatics scammers, the call centers as we know them. People are very well versed with technology because it's so readily available now, and the falling prices of technology combined with the sheer number of Indians there are has led to a lot of people that are very good with technology. And again, the thing with the videos that you mentioned, there is a degree of sample set bias to it, in the sense that since Indians represent the majority in the world, a majority of the videos made are going to be by Indians. So I think that sort of also explains it. But in terms of the knowledge that the education system instills in us for these more quantitative topics, India definitely has an advantage. And even anecdotally speaking, most Indians I've met have had a very competent level in maths, arithmetic, and technologically they were very sound. So I think there is some rationale behind this. Yeah.
But you spoke about the educational system, but how is it? Because in France we have primary school, then middle school, high school. It's the same.
Okay, good question. So in India, we have basically primary school, middle school, and then high school until year 12, until year 10, I should say. And then you get a choice. So it depends what you want to do. You can choose one of two ways. You want to be an engineer or you want to be a doctor. And I wish I was messing with you, but the sad reality is that people really are forced into virtually just these two career paths. And whatever you want to do, you need to give an exam for it, a national level exam. And India is a very meritocratic society in the sense that only the best who have proven their worth are admitted into the elite schools. So, for example, this national level exam, after year 10, people study 2 years usually, and then they take the exam. If they're not happy with the results, they can redo it, and they can redo it up to 2 times. So, a maximum of 4 years before you go to university. So, technically, you could be 22 going into university. And because of the intense amount of pressure there is, because virtually everyone you know will be giving one of two exams. It's called the JEE for the engineering and the NEET for the medical, the doctor exam. And virtually everyone you know will be giving one of these two. So in India, there's a massive industry of coaching centers where they basically take your kid from like seventh grade, eighth grade, and they put them in these coaching for like exorbitant amounts of time, 4 hours, 5 hours a day, and they just study. And all in the hopes that in year 12, when they finally have to give that one big exam, they'll be the best prepared that they can be. And because of this high amounts of pressure, again, we come back to the fact that Indians are very good at math because one, the education system, and two, the immense amount of competition. To put it in perspective a little bit, these numbers might be a little bit fudged up, but so the engineering exam in India is called the JEE, and there are two levels to it. First, you take the JEE main, and then the JEE advanced if you have a good enough grade to take it. And a million people sit for the first level, and amongst which I think the cutoff is around 70% you need to score to pass on to the second level. And after this entire process, the selection rate is 0.1%, which equates to 10,000 people out of a million. And the statistics can be very depressing for students, which is why in places like Kota in India, there's very high rates of suicide among students, which rationally it makes sense because if you're not one of the 10,000, you will think that you're worthless if you've spent the last 6 years of your life every day,
Sure.
5 hours walking towards something.
Too much pressure.
Insane amounts of pressure.
Yeah.
But we're good at maths for a reason.
No. Yeah. Oh, also I've heard something. You'll tell me if it's true. Like it's another Indian guy that I know that told me that when you pass an exam, you can't finish and go
Oh,
before the people that are alphabetically before you finished it.
again, India is such a large state. 1 out of every 7 people is Indian, so that should put in perspective how big it is. That, yeah, that probably could be true for your friend in a different region, but the region I'm from,
Okay, because
yeah, we don't super do that. But the tradition is still if you finish an exam early, for example, you're not allowed to leave the exam hall before the allocated time is over. So if it's a 2 hour exam, I finish in 1 hour, I still have to sit through the rest.
okay, no, but because he said that because of that, his parents changed his name.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like he went from a name that began in A to a name that began in S, so that he wouldn't be like the first one to have to finish the exam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I think it's something like that.
I'm sure that exists in parts of it. Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I really wouldn't be surprised. You could tell me virtually anything about India, and there's a little part, a little village somewhere where it probably happens. Just given how big everything is, we have over 10,000 languages in our country,
Oh wow, I didn't
Yeah.
know.
and
I don't think I really realized how big India is.
I don't think many people do. And it like you had a 14% chance of being born Indian.
Mm.
That is
Yeah.
massive. Because of this, we have a lot of cultures. And to give you a bit of historical background, India wasn't always united. It was sort of because we got colonized by the British that we had to unite to kick the British out. And yeah, it's sort of how it is. And because of this, India was a very divided territory for a lot of the time. And there were a lot of little kingdoms, similar to Italy,
Yeah,
before the
Italy.
unification happened. So yeah, right now, the main language in India is English because, let me clarify, that is the language of the working man because if you don't speak English, you're looked down upon.
Oh, look down the phone.
Yeah, historically, this has a very big reason because when the English colonized us, all the government jobs, the prestigious jobs, you had to speak English for because it was the English. And because of this, this sort of like seeped down in us. And now we even have like a thing where your school can be English medium or Hindi medium, which sort of means the medium of the language they're teaching. And so either you're taught in English or in Hindi. And if you're taught in Hindi, it's sort of looked down upon, yeah, by others in society, which is very sad. They assume your level of English is inferior to theirs.
So it's not like in the Middle East, like you know, in the Middle East you have general Arabic, but you also have each country that has his own version of Arabic, if I can put it this way. So it's so that everyone can understand each other. It's not for the same reason.
It's sort of similar with Hindi being our main language, but there are parts of India where no one speaks Hindi. For example, the south, Kerala, which is a very beautiful place, and anyone who has the chance should go. But they do not speak a word of Hindi down there. And if you exclusively speak Hindi, you're not going to get much. They speak English, perfect English, but they speak absolutely no Hindi. And conversely, in the north, they only speak Hindi, where the education rates are a little lower. They don't speak English as well, so you need to speak Hindi or their dialect of Hindi to understand. And again, these dialects can get so confusing that me myself, as a native Hindi speaker, I have no idea what they're saying sometimes.
Cliché number 3. Is it true that Bollywood is an important part of Indian culture?
Absolutely. There is nothing more important in Indian pop culture than Bollywood, I would say. And this is partially because English movies rarely translate as well to the Indian market, which is very contradictory to what I just said.
Do you know why?
I have no idea. Bollywood movies, just as a whole, they perform infinitely better. And again, it might be because the education rates in some places is so low that their English isn't good enough to understand the movie. So sometimes a version of that movie is put out where it's dubbed in Hindi. So it's the same movie, it's just in Hindi now. And oftentimes that performs better than the actual movie itself. That can be the case, but Bollywood, one of its biggest impacts is the music in the movies. Because in India, we have a convention that you don't have in the West, where every movie is accompanied by songs. In the middle of every movie, when there's a plot tone where the hero gets the girl or something happens, where there's a conflict, there's a song about it. And this song ends up sort of being like a dance performance act song thing where the audience is visually entertained for 2 to 3 minutes. The song itself is more memorable than the movie sometimes, and because of this, a lot of the songs they blow up on YouTube. The channel T series is the second or the most subscribed channel in the world, which is basically Indian music, the Bollywood music channel. So Bollywood is supremely important in India, and the actors are sort of looked upon as gods. It's the same way with sports as well, I'd say. Cricket is a big sport that's part of the pop culture.
Oh, really?
Because I think, I'm not sure about this, but I think cricket was also sort of brought over to us by the British, and the game, it spread across India like wildfire, and now
You have tournaments?
we have very big tournaments. We have massive teams that play, and there's a very famous actor called Shah Rukh Khan. I don't know if you know him, but he's the most famous Bollywood actor, I'd say. He owns a cricket team, and yeah, cricket's a big part of our culture.
So Bollywood is not a cliche. It's true.
No, Bollywood is not a cliche. Bollywood is absolutely true. And one thing that actually surprised me was how big Bollywood is out of India as well. A lot of people in France a shockingly large amount of people in France that I've spoken to have watched Bollywood movies.
Maybe not the movies entirely, but it's true that for me personally, yeah, like some songs I already heard. But it's true that except that, I don't really have any element in my mind when I think about Indian pop culture.
Indian pop, yeah, it revolves very heavily around movies, sports, as I've mentioned, cricket. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other things right now, but struggling. Well, what are elements of French pop culture?
I mean, we have sports, actors, movies. We have the food. No, it's not really pop culture.
Yeah.
I don't know. Singers.
Yeah, singers, same in India. Very big.
We have TV celebrities like the des animateurs.
Yes.
Or TV shows, video games, like Assassin's Creed in French.
In terms of video games, again, as I've mentioned with the whole education part, Indian young teens and kids, they really don't have much time. It's honestly a very sad reality, but it's very hard for them to explore their hobbies because of the lack of time. Yeah, I think video games as a whole are not a very big part of Indian culture. They're sort of looked down upon. Yeah, we also have a lot of TV celebrities, but usually they end up being actors that have retired or they're looking to retire that now have a TV show. Yeah, I think those are the biggest elements of India's pop culture.
Time for the recommendation. If this episode made you want to know more about Indian culture, here is Anany's recommendation on what to look at.
Go to your nearest Indian restaurant and try the dishes that are out of the norm. So, not the chicken tikka masala, not things that you have heard of, but try some actual Indian food that's less well known. Because, again, India being such a massive country, and I cannot emphasize how big it is, there are multiple different cultures in it. So, there are multiple different styles of cuisine. Different people eat different things with different utensils. It's very interesting. And just eat something that you haven't tried before. I think it's a great way to get to know the backbone of the country.
What's your favorite?
Something that is not well known, I would say this is a dish called aloo ke parathe, which is essentially like a naan, except it's made of wheat. No, it's made of maize, not wheat, and it's stuffed with potato. And you have it with like a little pickle, and it's Indian, so there's a lot of spices, a lot of oil as well in Indian food, and it's absolutely delicious. If anyone gets the chance, please try it. Other recommendations: if you can, visit India. It probably won't be within the grasps of most people, but I think it is an absolutely lovely country to visit. And if you plan your trip right, you will see some very, very beautiful scenery.
Thank you guys for listening. It has been a pleasure to present this last episode to you. It has been a wonderful experience to build this project, and if you are still listening, I wanted to tell you that I appreciate truly the attention that you gave to the show. It means a lot to me, and it made me learn many, many things. You can still put a like or a comment, or you can take also a look to the subtitle version on YouTube. So, yeah, bye bye. Thank you.